Hey guys, today I'm sharing with you this incredible and delicious cookies and cream cake. If you love chocolate sandwich cookies, Oreos, anything like that, dipped in some milk, oh my goodness, you're absolutely gonna love this cake. So grateful and blessed for this recipe. Let's go ahead and get started. In a bowl here, I have some chocolate sandwich cookies that I have removed the cream from as best as I can, and I've placed that into a separate bowl. Now just the cookie part I'm going to place in a Ziploc bag, get all the air out, seal it, and we're going to crush it with a rolling pin or whatever you have on hand. You can even use a food processor to grind this up until we have nice fine crumbs. So after we have nice fine crumbs, we're going to set that aside. And I have some extra cookies that we're going to be using later, as well as the cream from all of the cookies. You want to make sure and reserve that for later use. All the amounts will be listed below in the description box. In my mixing bowl here, I have some unsalted butter that is nice and soft. And I'm going to go ahead and start creaming that butter on its own just to make sure it's nice and smooth. And I'm going to gradually add in my granulated sugar. Add in a little bit and then let it blend for about a minute. Make sure and get and scrape down all the edges to make sure everything is incorporated. After that is nice and smooth and incorporated, I'm going to go ahead and add in the next bit of my granulated sugar. Make sure every minute to come in and scrape down the sides of the bowl to make sure that all of that butter and sugar is getting incorporated. And this really has to mix for about 8 to 10 minutes. That's what really gives you a really nice fluffy cake, is mixing that butter and that sugar really well until it becomes one, like a nice smooth paste. The color is going to become a lot lighter and it's become very nice and smooth. So let it go for about 8 to 10 minutes, scraping the sides every minute or so. Now I have some cake pans here. I'm using two 9-inch pans. I'm going to butter the sides of it really well, all the bottom and the sides. Then I'm going to go ahead and place in some flour on each cake pan, and we're just going to shake that flour around the cake pan to make sure all of the bottom and the sides rotate the pan to make sure it's all coated in that flour. In a large mixing bowl here, I have some egg whites. This is a clean mixing bowl and just some egg whites. To that, I'm going to add a nice pinch of salt, and we're just going to blend this for about 4 to 6 minutes or so. 4 minutes really works until we get stiff peaks. So just mix it, that's all. Nothing fancy. Takes about 4 minutes or so until we have nice stiff peaks. We're going to set that aside. In our dry ingredients, I have some cake flour, baking powder, and I'm just going to mix that together. To my butter and my sugar, I'm going to add in a splash of vanilla and mix that in. I'm switching over my spatula here. Get that all incorporated. Now add in half of my cake flour and baking powder mixture and half of my milk. You're also going to need some whole milk. Mix that until it's mostly incorporated. Then I'm also going to add in the last half of my flour and the last half of my whole milk. Mix that until it is mostly incorporated, and then we are going to go ahead and mix in our cookie crumbs that we crushed earlier. You want to make sure that your oven is preheated to 350 degrees. So we're going to go ahead and add in our cookie crumbs and give that a nice mix. And this is going to start smelling like a big old Oreo cookie, and you can tell how amazing that batter is already looking, like cookies and cream ice cream. So insanely delicious. Such a treat. So good. Oh my goodness. Now we're going to take our egg whites, and I'm going to put in about 1/4 at a time and kind of fold it in as best as I can. You don't want to deflate your eggs too much, but just go around the sides, down the center, around the sides, down the center, mix it in as best as you can. So I'm going to do 1/4 at a time until it is incorporated. You don't have to be perfect about it. It's very easy, very simple, and also good. So I'm going to finish up with my last bit of egg whites here and fold that in. And we're going to go ahead and divide this batter as best as we can into our 2 cake pans. You can also do this into 1 large cake pan. That is my microwave. Tell me how many times you guys microwave your coffee, because I probably do it about 20 times a day. Anyways, back to the recipe. We are going to go ahead and divide our batter into our 2 cake pans here as best as we possibly can, and shake it all around to make sure the batter is evenly distributed throughout the pan. Flatten it out with your spatula. And again, you can do this in 1 large cake pan to have 1 cake. Make it easier on yourself if you don't want to have a filling. I like a filling, and this is going to bake for about 18 to 22 minutes or so. Check on it maybe about 20 minutes until it's out clean with the toothpick test. Now we have some cookies here as well as the filling from the other cookies. I'm going to go ahead and take these cookies and crush them up as well using that same bag from earlier. And into a mixing bowl, I have some softened cream cheese at room temperature, as well as the filling from all of the other cookies. We're going to cream that together until smooth, nice and smooth. And then we're going to go ahead and add in some heavy cream. All the amounts again, guys, will be listed below in the description box. We're going to go ahead and mix in this heavy cream, the cream cheese, and the filling from the Oreo cookies until it's mostly incorporated. And then we're going to add in 2 tablespoons of powdered sugar. You can add a little bit more if you want it to be a little bit sweeter. However, I find this to be just right. Go ahead and mix that in, and we're going to mix this cream cheese and heavy cream and so on for a couple minutes or so until it comes nice and firm. And also we do have nice stiff peaks. We do not want to overmix our heavy cream because then we can be making butter, and we just want a nice topping for our cake. So it's nice and it's holding its shape beautifully. Weird. And now what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and add in our cookie crumbs. Add in our last bit of cookie crumbs here. Mix that all in, and after your cakes has finished and come out the oven, you want to make sure that they are nice and completely cool before placing your whipped cream topping on top. So if you want to place your whipped cream topping in the fridge until you're ready for it, go right ahead. We're going to go ahead and remove our cake from our pans. If you need to, run a knife around the edges of the cake pan so it's easier to remove. Just going to go ahead and remove it. And you're just going to go ahead and place a good amount of that filling into the center. And just going to spread that out as even as you can all the way to the edges. Clean off your spatula if you need to, and add a little bit more if you need to. Then just place the next cake on top. And place the remaining bit of your whipped cream topping frosting on. Spread all over the top of the cake, down to the sides. And you can be as fancy schmancy as you want with this. I'm just going for a pretty bare cake here, so I'm just going to do the top and the sides as best as you can. And that's the great thing about homemade, is it doesn't have to be perfect, but it's beautiful in its own way. Gonna finish it up here, and then I'm gonna be shaving some Oreo cookies on top. So all I'm doing is taking an Oreo and a grater on the finest side and just grating some Oreo cookies on top. I'm also gonna be placing some halves of Oreo cookies around the top of the cake. And that's my mom placing the half cookies up there, and she used to make amazing wedding cakes back in the day. Maybe that's where I get all this from, but she is the decorator, not me. This is so simple, but it's so beautiful, and it's so incredibly delicious. All the amounts will be listed below in the description box. If you try it and you enjoy it, let me know. I like to keep this in the fridge, and when I'm serving, I like to take it out about 5 minutes before serving, and it is so insanely delicious. If you love Oreos, chocolate sandwich cookies, anything, cookies and cream, you're absolutely going to love this cake. My little ones absolutely loved it. I'm so grateful, so blessed beyond measure. This is a perfect weekend treat, guys. It doesn't take that long. It's actually just a few extra steps than a regular cake, but it is so worth it. I hope that you guys enjoy. I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.